Hello, I'm Hansa Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I think the uniqueness of the Reggae Girlz is they embody the national motto of Jamaica, which is out of many one people. So when you look at the entirety of the Jamaica squad, you have dark-skinned girls, mixed-race girls, girls who have black and Asian in them. You also have the homegrown players, so like your Bunny Shaw, your Konya Plummer, your Denden Blackwood. So what that means in terms of from a grassroots perspective is girls who are born in Jamaica can look at a Bunny Shaw and hear that authentic accent and say, you know, if Bunny can make it, then so can I. Once you hear that authenticity, that raw Jamaican accent, they should be able to look at a Bunny Shaw who's now our captain to say, if Bunny can do it, especially if you come from the same community, the same parish as her, if she can do it, then so can we.
I want to give a big bless up to the Reggae Girlz out there. They ain't believing us. John did. Reggae Girlz, keep winning, keep inspiring. I know you're going to be great out there, World Cup. Sadella Marley, nothing but love. Bless up from DJ Khaled.
And I'm representing for the Reggae Girlz. You know what I mean? Big up on yourself every time. Especially if you're qualifying for the World Cup back to back. You know what I mean? Sadella, big up yourself. One love every time. You know the thing go. Blessing off a flow like a river. Blessing off a flow like a river. What the Reggae Girlz do? Left them name night earth like a queen. Me have to big up the top soccer team. You know Massacre represent. Jamaica supporting every time. You know the thing go.
Hello, I'm Hansa Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I feel like I'm from UK, you know.
See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Talawa TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Talawa TV with the host and best Davis. Take it away.
My Talawers, how are you all? Good afternoon, good evening, possibly good morning. All depends on where you are in the world. Welcome back to another live stream. Happy Friday. I hope it's a happy Friday for you all. If you're heading home on your journey, I do hope that you make it home safely and unharmed, because making it through your doors is a underrated blessing. So we're into the weekend now, aren't we, guys? Well, I definitely am. It is officially Saturday morning for me, although it is very early doors, just 12 past 6 a.m. and here I am with you guys again. I think you guys have figured me out by now in terms of my habits, streaming habits. I do tend to stream every other day, and I do usually aim for the 6 a.m. UK time. That should be 6 o'clock Jamaica time for the time being, until things change. So I didn't give you guys a live stream last night, but like I said, it is every other night. So with that being said, I don't think I'm going to be giving you guys a live stream tomorrow night. All depends on if anything comes up, then obviously I will stream for as long as necessary. I won't make it too long. Tonight I'm aiming to stream for about maybe 1 hour. Hopefully I can wrap everything up within an hour. I've had to change my stream quite a few times throughout the day. So I initially wanted to give you guys a live stream talking about the squad announcement, Steve McClaren's Nations League squad announcement. And also I was going to talk to you guys about some transfer activity as it relates to Andre Gray and his news. He's now signed for Plymouth Argyle. And I was going to talk to you guys about that particular transfer. Also talk to you guys about Michael Hector. But then multiple things came up at once. And I was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Rather than coming back and speaking to you guys with separate live streams, I'm just going to go for it and see how it goes and give you guys a live stream of everything all in one go. Hopefully it goes according to plan. If not, oh well, we live and we move. So I'm going to be starting things off. I'm going to backtrack with I touched on a particular player some nights ago, maybe 2 nights ago, when I was talking about Ravel Morrison and his move to Precision FC, and they play in UAL. So that is United Arab Emirates. His club Precision FC, they sit in the 2nd division. For context, they came about, let's say, over a year ago now. They started things off in the third division, one promotion within that year, and then propelled themselves to the second division. So best of luck to Ravel Morrison and his club, Precision FC. Also touched on not Ravel Morrison, also touched on Michael Hector, and looked at the career, the trajectory of each of those players. So your Michael Hector, your Ravel Morrison, and your Andre Gray. As I said, I did assume based on transfer habits, that it would have been Michael Hector to nail his name down to a club. At that time, the three of those players there were free agent. Thankfully, though, by the grace of God, as I said, Ravel Morrison has since signed for Precision FC. Andre Gray has since signed for Plymouth, and we are now awaiting Michael Hector. He's set to be, apparently, it seems like he's close to joining a club, hence the omission from his Steve McClaren's recent announcement there. So as I've said in a couple of our live streams, deals do tend to take a while to materialize. It can take somewhat as it relates to moving from one club to another, with the middleman in mind, somewhat 6 months to a year. Thankfully, for the likes of Andre Gray, Michael Hector, and Ravel Morrison, they don't have to deal with the 12th man. So it should be a smoother transition. So whereas they are free agents, even though the transfer window has closed across what you guys probably call your respective divisions, or just closed entirely, as free agents, obviously they can still go ahead and sign for clubs, so long as it is possible, so long as the squad list there allows them to do so. So we are currently waiting to see what happens with Michael Hector and where he heads. I've been looking at his profile actually, and for the last two of his clubs there, he has stayed in London. So he stayed with Fulham before subsequently moving on to Charlton. And I'm assuming, I know you guys should already know this, but just to give you guys a gentle reminder, he is a East Londoner. He's an East London boy, born in East Ham. So again, eastern side of London, East London. So I am assuming, yes, we know Fulham isn't a East London club, but it is still a London club, Charlton Athletic as well. So I'm thinking maybe, and obviously I'm not privy to certain information. I don't know Michael Hector personally. I don't know his agents, don't know his representative. But what I can see from an outsider looking on, based off his social media activity, clearly he does come across as a family man. Again, given the fact that he has stayed with two London clubs over the last few years of his playing career there, I think I wouldn't be surprised, not that I'm expecting, but I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in London and sign for another London club. I don't really know. I can't think off the top of my head of a London club across the English leagues there who could do with a centre-back. Can't really think of anyone, but from looking at London, I don't know. One club that came to mind is Leyton Orient. I don't know what Leyton Orient are doing in their league. I don't know if they need a centre back. You guys let me know in the comment section. I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if I see him sign for someone like a Leyton Orient, a club of that caliber, a club of that ilk. But saying that, let me just move on, and I'm going to touch on Andre Gray a little bit more. But before I do so, as I said, I did touch on a particular player there when I was talking to you guys about the career pathway and why a player like Ravel Morrison might decide to go to the UAE. I won't ramble on because I've already discussed that in length. So that player there that I had in mind that I also spoke about was Paul Pogba. So there was some news there, early news there, as it relates to Paul Pogba. And I am going to go ahead and talk to you guys there about Mr. Pogba. If I can go ahead and get the news up on screen, that is. Go ahead and turn on my shared screen. And do go ahead and get friendly with the comment section. I always encourage you guys to get friendly with the comment section. So let's start off by making you Paul Pogba fans happy if you're having a miserable Friday. I would like to let you know, in case you haven't know, in case you guys aren't aware already, your star boy Paul Pogba headline nightmare is over. Pogba doping ban reduced to 18 months. As I said, we already spoke about Paul Pogba some 2 nights ago, along with the likes of Ravel, Morrison, and Jesse Lingard. You know, their time at Manchester United together. I believe they won the Youth FA Cup. And it says here, Paul Pogba says his nightmare is over after a 4-year ban for a doping offense was reduced to 18 months following a successful appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, that is CAS. I won't read the entire news release there, the entire news report. I will just go ahead and touch on a few brief details there. Maybe I'll just stop with the first line of that paragraph there. And it does say, sources close to the 31-year-old Juventus midfielder told BBC Sport he can resume training in January 2025 and will be eligible to play again in March. So there you go. I know some of you there are massive Paul Pogba fans. Your star boy is coming back. Hopefully he will be back with a bang. And that is the early bit of news there that I wanted to touch on. Yes, it has nothing to do with Jamaican football, but again, for context, I did speak about Paul Pogba some nights ago, along with the Ravel, Morrison, and Jesse Lingard. So I think it makes sense, in all fairness, to speak about him again, because this news broke some hours ago. So there is the context. As it relates to our boy Andre Gray, I'm going to go ahead and give you some extra details there with regards to the announcement that he has signed for Plymouth Argyle, where he's going to be managed by a familiar face of you guys there. And I won't ruin it. You probably already know who coaches, or I should say manages Plymouth. But in case you don't know, I'm about to give you a gentle reminder. Conrad, I can see you there in the comments section. Big up yourself there, Conrad. I'll turn to your comments in a bit. At the moment, I can't see the comment section because I am actually looking at the screen in front of me, which I assume you guys can now see. And the headline does read for itself. There you go. You've got Andre Gray there with the jersey of Plymouth Argyle. And it does say, welcome, Andre. Again, I won't go ahead and read the press release there in its entirety. What I will do is just touch on a few of what I think is relevant information. I won't bore you guys to death. So it says Argyle have signed free agent Andre Gray on a short-term contract until January. And you guys already know that he was a free agent, and before signing for Plymouth, he was in the Saudi Pro League with Al Riyadh. But thankfully, that one has come to an end and he is now back in football. I say thankfully in the sense that he's no longer possibly, I don't know, he might have been going through independent fitness training by himself, or training with friends, or training with groups of other free agent players, as we have seen with the likes of Michael Hector and also Ravel Morrison, who during the summer, again, as a gentle reminder, trained with the PFA free agent squad. Some more relevant information there as it relates to Andre Gray. If I scroll along and pick up on the important bits for you guys, what I can do is give you guys some words there from Wayne Rooney, head coach Wayne Rooney. It says, upon the signing of Gray, Argyle head coach Wayne Rooney said, once we knew the severity of Mohamed's injury, I'm going to touch on Mohamed. Mohamed is their striker. Unfortunately, he is on the sideline due to a lengthy injury. So the paragraph continues by saying, we moved quickly to bring in a striker to replace him. And it wraps up by saying, Andre is a striker of real quality and has played and scored goals at the highest level. He will provide competition in forward areas as we head into a busy period of the season, and I am really happy to have him here. We also heard from the director, that is the director of football for Plymouth Argyle, and he says it was a real shame to lose Mohamed for a lengthy period, but we are delighted we've been able to move so quickly to bring in a player of Andre's quality to strengthen the forward line. Andre is a player of real pedigree and has been a natural goal scorer throughout his career. He has trained with the group for the last couple of days, looked sharp and shown the quality he has. I want to welcome him to Argyle and wish him well for his time with the club. And that is how that one wraps up. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with Andre Gray already. I don't really need to say much about him, but I will say that I do agree with much of what Wayne Rooney and the director have said in terms of Andre's quality and touching on why they decided to sign him. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the achievements of Andre Gray. He does have some individual accolades there, which I will touch on for context purpose. Also touch on that trophy there that he won when he was playing for Burnley. So let me go ahead and change my screen very briefly. I'm trying to get through these different topics of conversation as quickly as I can. I've got maybe 2 more topics of conversation, separate players, and also looking at the squad list there, the squad announcement from Steve McClaren, which was read out to us earlier today. So you're looking at the profile, at least you should be looking at the profile of Andre Gray. If you can't see it, oh no, you can't. It's a good thing I checked. So you guys can't see it. Why is that? I will have to go ahead and figure something out. I think I need to give that another spin. My apologies there, guys. Not sure why it hasn't changed. It's a good thing I like to double check to see that you guys are on the same page as me. Yeah, I think we're on the same page now, guys. All right. Let's double check that. Yes. My apologies. I do apologize. As I said, when I turn my attention to this screen right in front of me, I can't see you guys there in the comment section, but I do promise that I will check ever so often to make sure that we're all on the same page, right? So what we're looking at is Andre Gray's profile. Do ignore where it says without a club. I think transfer markets a little bit slow out the blocks on tonight's occasion. They tend to do things quite swift, but we're not going to hold them to that on this particular moment. Right. So let's just go ahead and look at some of the things there that Andre Gray has managed to achieve. Again, individual accolades and also with his team, former team there, Burnley. In terms of honors, this one reads for itself, doesn't it? 1 times English second tier champion. So that is the championship, winning the championship there with Burnley. I'm sure you understand how the football pyramid works. Once you win the championship, you obviously win your promotion there to the Premier League. And during that 2015-2016 period there, it was a period where it's probably, I don't want to speak for him, but that is potentially the height of his career, probably the one that's felt most rewarding in terms of success, achievements, individual accolades, and so on. So during that 2015-2016 period there, where he was crowned the second tier champion with Burnley, he netted 25 goals in the championship, obviously. Another accolade there for you guys to cast your eyes on is in the 2013-2014 period, where he netted 30 goals in the Conference Premier. Conference Premier. I was going to call it a different name there, Conference Premier. In terms of individual accolades there, he won Player of the Year for the championship, and it is to no surprise because, as I said, 2015-2016, that is the same season where he won the championship with Burnley, netting 25 goals. And obviously, when you net that amount of goals, there's only one thing that you're looking at next in terms of pinching individual accolades. And with that, he won the the player of the year, as you can see there right in front of you. Also from this season, the accolades followed because he was also included in the PFA 2015-2016 team of the year. As you would expect, when you net that that number of goals, more individual accolades will follow. I will also fall in line. You can go ahead and cast your eyes there on that team of the year there that I just touched on. As you can see here, the PFA Sky Bet Championship Team of the Year 2016. And we're looking at our boy, Andre Gray. So saying that to say, for context wise, yes, I do again agree with the director of Plymouth Argyle and also Wayne Rooney when they touched on the pedigree of player that they're signing. Yes, I do agree. They are signing a player with immense pedigree, having played at that level before. He definitely has the experience that's needed to fill the void of their player, Mohammed. So this player that they signed, Mohammed Tijani, I believe his name is pronounced. Unfortunately, as it said there in the press release, he picked up a lengthy injury, and I do believe it's a hamstring injury, which will keep him out until the new year. Hence the signing of Andre Gray, and Andre Gray is as signed to Plymouth on a short-term basis. I will say naturally there is some positives there for Andre Gray to think about in terms of where he's positioned, what could potentially happen between now and January, and then maybe even from January through to the end of season or the summer transfer window. It might be an opportunity for him there, where the old saying goes, one man's loss is another man's gain. I've already touched on the fact that the player that he's coming to replace temporarily is on the injury bench. To add some context to that player there, Mohammed, he's actually on loan from Slavia Prague. So it's not as if it's a permanent signing or a player that belongs to Plymouth Argyle for the long run. It is a player who is on loan. Unfortunately for him, he has picked up a lengthy hamstring injury again, hence the signing of Andre Gray. So there's a clear opportunity there. It is early days. It is early into the season. So to be fair to Mohammed, injury to one side because of the early start of the season, the early period of the season that we're in. My apologies. He clearly hasn't had enough time to make a name for himself. Whether or not he would have lit up the league there as it relates to the early part of the season, as we edge closer to those tense and thick and fast fixtures in and around the Christmas period. Obviously, we won't know the answer to that because he is on the subs bench. But I will say this, that I do believe that the door is wide open for Andre Gray to potentially give Wayne Rooney and maybe the director of football something to think about when January comes, when his contract would have come to an end. Hopefully, he does have a flourishing season between now and January. And when Mohammed does come back, God's willing, after his injury layoff, hopefully the club might actually have some second thought and think to themselves, no, we need to keep Andre Gray. But for that to happen, he has to go out there and remind them what he's made of. He's already done it at various levels. He's done it with Luton, winning promotion there to the 4th league. He's also had some memorable times when he was at other clubs, aside from Burnley, also with Watford. Let's go back and see if we can see what happened with Watford. I think that was a runners-up, FA Cup runners-up medal there during his time with Watford. So you guys can cast your eyes on all titles. Let's see if you guys can see that. Yes, you can. So yeah, to reiterate some of the things that he's already done, promotion to 1st league there with Burnley, promotion to the 4th league with Luton Town, and yeah, English FA Cup runners-up with Watford FC, and he's done a lot. He's no stranger to the championship. You can see they're back in that 2015-2016 season again. Player of the year there for what he managed to achieve with Burnley. So yes, saying that they've signed a player with pedigree, definitely something that I can agree on. Next up in line in terms of the 3 players that we had as free agent, to reiterate, to summarize all of that: Ravel Morrison signing for Precision FC, Andre Gray signing for Plymouth, and then subsequently we're now waiting to see who Michael Hector signs for. Based on what we've seen, I'm kind of preempting an announcement of Michael Hector signing to a club in London, preferably somewhere in East London. Again, that's just because of the family connection there. I think it's safe to say, from an outsider looking on, it does strike me as a family man. Clearly, it's we always see him out and about playing cricket with his dad. And clearly his dad is a massive cricket fan, as is he, or he tends to spend a lot of his time with his dad or his mom or his brother or his kids. So surely, when you're moving from club to club, these are some of the things that you would naturally consider. Do you want to be away from your family? I'm sure his kids are settled into school. He wouldn't want to disrupt that. I don't think he'd want to go overseas if he doesn't have to, because again, I'm sure he's not going to pick up his family and leave and go overseas. Or maybe he will, but I think if the kids are settled in school and his missus is happy and his family are happy, I should think for a Michael Hector at this stage of his career, it is family first. So saying that to say, I am expecting that he will be staying in London. Yes, Owen, I did read something along the lines with his dad playing cricket. So that's where the connection comes from. Conrad Smith, big up yourself. He's going to need a lot of work. They going to probably loan him out. Who is that? Who are you talking about? Owen. His dad played professional cricket. I think you might be onto something. I think I might have seen something along the lines of his dad playing cricket. Either way, I do know that his dad enjoys a cricket game here and there. So yeah, as I've said with Michael Hector, said it a number of times, he has an abundance of experience. I think we all know that, looking at the number of clubs that he's played for. I think he's possibly looking at the makeup of the player outside of football, that he does come across as being a manager's dream in terms of who he is as a human being. I like to look at these people as human beings before looking at them as footballers. I've been fortunate to meet him in person, be in the same room as him, I should say, at a event, and he does come across as being someone who is quite warm. We never hear of him being the troublemaker, so clearly he is in trouble. He does come across as someone who just wants to play football and go home. And I think when we listen to that press conference there from Steve McClaren, I think if I'm not mistaken, he said the reason, paraphrasing here, someone might have to correct me on this. I think he did say that Michael Hector isn't part of the squad because he is in the process of signing for a club. Unless my ears were fooling me, I'm pretty sure that's what he said. If you guys watch or listen to the press conference, do correct me if I am wrong. But saying that to say, I'm assuming that now, as it relates to Michael Hector, that it is a matter of playing the waiting game until we hear some sort of announcement pertaining to where his next club will be, right? So I think that is all I need to say as it relates to Andre Gray, Michael Hector. I've already touched on. What have I touched on? I've already touched on Pogba as well. Just to go over what I've already said. No, he can beat Ravel and go and got a club. LOL. That one has flown over my head. Maybe it's because it's early in the morning. It's almost 12:32. So I'm going to crack on and I'm going to go ahead and talk about Mr. Omari Hutchinson. think it's definitely a player that we should spend some time talking about. I did notice something earlier on, and to be honest with you, it made me smile for the young man. You guys probably look at things very differently to myself. Football is a game of opinions, so I welcome a difference in opinions, I should say. If you guys think differently to myself, no problem. Let's go ahead and share our thoughts in the comment section, and I will respond to you as soon as I can. For the time being, though, I'm going to head over to my other tab there and look at the screen in front of you all. And for context purposes, this one reads as follows. Omari Hutchinson left Arsenal for Chelsea in search of more game time this summer before going on loan to the Championship to develop. The youngster has registered 15 goals contribution this season. This is a post there taken from last season for context, right? Because I'm pretty sure you guys know he plays for Ipswich. He was on loan at Ipswich last season. He's obviously came up and to the Premier League, and now he is permanently playing for Ipswich, right? So let me give that another spin there for you all. The youngster has registered 15 goal contribution this season, firing Ipswich to the Premier League for the first time in 22 years. So that is a massive achievement there, monumental achievement there from Omari Hutchinson and Ipswich. And to be fair to the young man, long may it continue. I think he's somewhat 20 years old, I believe. So he's, young adult, but still probably a kid at heart. I'm sure when it comes to decision makings, like any fully grown adult, those difficult decision makings does require his team's input, so that be it his mom, dad, representative, or all of the above, and also Omari Hutchinson as well. So I'm going to let this one stay on the screen in front of me, again, just for context purpose. So he's had a bit of an interesting career, hasn't he, Omari Hutchinson? I actually need to bring up something on him to remind myself where he played. I think he might have played for Charlton, but I just need to double check that before I don't want to miss. Yeah, he did. So I didn't want to misinform you guys. So in terms of career there, previously played for, in terms of the youth career, that's how I'm going to be looking at things and then building my way up. Youth career wise, started off at Chelsea. He made his move to Charlton. That one was short lived. Then went on to Arsenal, and then subsequently went back to Chelsea. And you guys already know how that one panned out. Moved to Chelsea, then went on loan to Ipswich, lit things up with Ipswich in the Championship before going back to Chelsea in the summer, and then making a permanent move to Ipswich. And it was an intriguing one, because when he was at Arsenal, the reason why things didn't materialize in terms of nailing down a contract extension, glossing over everything that was said in the media, was because he wanted a regular first team football. And you can't blame the young man. Why not? You see so many young players these days playing in the for top 6 clubs, and they're making a name for themselves, and the world's talking about them here and there and so on. So he probably has an appetite for that. That probably says that he's ambitious enough to be daring to say that he wants first team football. So I wouldn't hold it against him. He's young, he's ambitious. That's what you want to see from young players. You don't want them to be slackers. So when he made the decision to not stay at Arsenal, again, it was to do with wanting regular first team football. Went back to Chelsea. I'm not really sure how the conversation went with Chelsea. I'm not privy to those type of information, but clearly Chelsea sold him a dream, and it must have been a wonderful dream, because he clearly bought into whatever was sold by Chelsea. Went back to Chelsea, I'm assuming, for first team football. If he couldn't get it at Arsenal, maybe it was told to him that he could get it at Chelsea. Clearly that didn't happen. Went to Ipswich, as I said, for his first team football. And then that is where he is currently, with the loan being wiped aside, loan turned into a permanent deal, and so on. So with his career pathway, in terms of him as a youngster, I think it's safe to say, about knowing the young man, it's quite clear to say that, again, young, ambitious, knows what he wants. And in terms of some first team football at senior level. Clearly, he wants to play senior men's football because he believes he's good enough to be at that level. And if that's his belief, then I am not here to knock him. I'm not here to badmouth him. I'm actually here to say fair play. Why not? And when I look at things on the international side of things, because I gather that he is an ambitious individual, I was actually under the impression that the same might be said when it comes to international football, because clearly, you don't need me telling you guys, but based on what he has done in his career in the last season and counting, emphasis adding to wanting to play senior men's football again and not knocking the lad, I thought that the same would be said with international football. And when I say that, clearly I'm looking at Jamaica. I think they've probably pressed the button. I've not double checked this with anyone from the Football Federation, but I am assuming they would have pressed that button a number of times in terms of wanting to persuade him and turn his head to say, come on, come and play for the black, green and gold and help us qualify for the upcoming 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. And clearly that has not worked. I think from what we have seen, and let me go ahead and bring up some more context before I lose you all. Is this the one that I need? Bear with me there, guys. There is something else that I need to bring up. Okay, here it is. Let's go ahead and change the screen. Clearly, whatever the Jamaica Football Federation had in mind, if they have been knocking on the door, clearly it hasn't worked, as it. I'm going to go ahead and read out the U21 Young Lions squad for October. But before I do that, let me just continue with what I'm saying before I forget my thoughts, because it's easy for me to forget things these days. As I was saying, I expected him to be knocking on the door of senior men's football. Obviously, Jamaica has made it quite clear and obvious, I think, that they want him. They want him to be part of our succession plan, you know, not just for today, but for tomorrow. And to be honest with you, I think these are the caliber of players that we need to be looking at. It's no point thinking solely of 2026. For me, you need to be thinking about 2030. Obviously, if you plan for 2030, naturally, 2026 comes into that, right? Because it's in between the now 2026 and 2030. But looking at Omari Hutchinson and the fact that he was announced in the England U21s, read this clearly, U21's European Championship qualifiers. They've got 2 games coming up there, and you can see in terms of their forward selection, Omari Hutchinson's name is included. And I thought it reminds me of someone. This decision here reminds me of former Arsenal player Eddie Nketiah. We know by now, I'm sure you guys already know, that he has heritage in relation to the Black Stars of Africa, the Black Stars being Ghana. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of this because I have said this on my live stream some weeks ago, that leading up to the previous men's World Cup, so that would have been 2022 Qatar, the Black Stars made another attempt to lure Eddie Nketiah into their camp. They offered him a spot at the World Cup and he politely said no. And I think that's quite baffling, that you would turn down an opportunity to play on football's biggest stage. Baffling, but I think you don't need VAR to give you an answer to this one. It's quite clear and obvious that his heart doesn't belong to Ghana, you know. Sorry, Ghana, don't shoot the messenger. But I think if you're going to turn around and offer a player, whether it's in the men's team or the women's team, the opportunity to play at the World Cup, I'm sorry, but anyone who has any sincere interest will snap your hand off, will be telling you yes. But he said no politely, and clearly he's left the door open for an England senior men's call-up. I've already said I think he's in the right club that could potentially make that happen. Now, as it relates to Omari Hutchinson, I think that's quite similar. I think his decision to accept this call up here for the England U21 squad rather than saying, okay, let me go and play some World Cup qualifiers with Jamaica. I think that pretty much tells you what you need to do, what you need to know with regards to where he stands. And you know, I'm not here to be the young man. I fully understand it. I fully get it. You have to go with where your heart desires. And I think it's safe to say that he's a young lion at heart. And I don't blame him, because I'm sure, you know, we clock onto a few things over the summer as it relates to England and their selection of players there in the Euros. Crystal Palace had the highest number of call-ups per club. I think they had about 4 players, if I'm not mistaken. I might need to double check that for you guys. But I think they had about 4 players called up to the England's men's Euro squad with former gaffer Gareth Southgate. And I think if you're a young player like your Omari Hutchinson, things like that probably inspires you. You know, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but when you're talking about highest number of player selection per club, the clubs that probably come to mind in terms of England's habit of calling up players, they tend to go for teams in the top 6. You know, Dominic Solanke is evidence of that. So you know, the fact that Crystal Palace held that mantle, I think it would inspire a young Omari Hutchinson to say, you know what, hold your horses. Yes, Jamaica probably want me, but I'm young enough to still potentially not have to commit to them. So that's the way that I am looking at it. Also with the interim coach, I think he's the interim coach of England, because I've not seen no announcement of him being the permanent gaffer since Gareth Southgate's departure. He is now calling up some young players, and again, I think that's inspirational. If you want to look at that England call up there, I'll go ahead and look at it with you all. Let me go ahead and bring that up on screen, because there's a name that stood out for me, and I think he was part of last month's camp. You guys might have to correct me on this if I am wrong. Are you looking at the right thing? Yes, you guys are. So let's go ahead and look at that team there. One name that definitely stood out for me is Angel Gomez. And I was just like, you know what? It's things like this that probably get a player like your Omari Hutchinson in that inspirational mood, feeling good about himself, feeling confident. Because clearly, as I said, with this new interim head coach there for the England's men's senior team, clearly he's picking a handful of young players. That's probably because of past relationships with said young players there, you know, going with what you know and so on. But those crop of young players there that are being selected for the England's men's national team, in the grand scheme of things, if you look back on the surface of things, I should say, they are players of similar age to a Omari Hutchinson. I think, again, in terms of inspiration, taking inspiration from your Eddie and Nketiah and your Crystal Palace, that's something else that would give him some sort of inspiration, some sort of hope that potentially his time might come. It's just that his time might not be with us. I think he's 20 years of age, if I'm not mistaken. So clearly, with his talent in mind, he still has a long way to go. He still has much to prove of himself. And I will say this, and it probably upset a few people. It's quite clear, if he really wanted to commit to Jamaica, I think he would be here by now. You know, I don't think that we'd be in a position where we're looking at a Omari Hutchinson being named in the England U21's squad announcement for their Nations League fixtures when we have fixtures of our own. I think it would be clear and obvious that he'll be representing us and not them. Also, I seem to remember a time where maybe it was I don't know if it's 2 years ago or edging towards 2 years ago, where Chelsea told him, paraphrasing, to say no to Jamaica. I think you guys all remember that, right? And I cannot remember if that was during a FIFA international break or not. I've been trying to remember. I've also tried to find the FIFA international calendar, and I couldn't find it. I think it's because it's some years ago. I think that might have been 2022. Time does fly, but I think that might have been 2022. Let me see if I can bring something up for you guys. When was that? I think I need your help in the comment section, guys. I think that might have been 2022. Can't find it. I might have to come back add some meat to the bones with that one. But saying that to say, I remember something that was said by our former gaffer, Paul Hall, and it is something that will definitely stay with me as long as my memory allows it to. And paraphrasing, Paul Hall said that, not drawing any player out, but if a player wants to play for Jamaica, then, no coach, no manager, no club can persuade them not to. Again, I can't remember the context of Chelsea saying don't go to Jamaica and play for Chelsea instead. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they might have had a Carabao Cup game coming up against Manchester City. I can't quite remember. The more important things that more importantly, I should say, I honestly can't remember if it was during a international window or not. But saying that to say, as Paul Hall had said, paraphrasing what the former gaffer, former reggae boy Paul Hall had said, if you want to play for Jamaica, no one can persuade you not to. No one can tell you not to. And, also adding to where we're at with Omari Hutchinson, I think it goes back to what I've said, guys. Polite reminder. This is, I think, is a polite reminder. Loose lips sink ships. I think, if you really want to be honest with ourselves, as the 12th man, members of the media, be it new media, traditional media, do you really blame him if he is not interested in Jamaica? And I'm not saying he's not interested because I don't know the young man, I don't know his family, but I can only go with what's in front of me and where he is now and where he isn't. Do you really blame the man, the young man that is, if he is not fully or solely committed to wanting to play for Jamaica? And I say so because one thing that really irks me about our community where Jamaica football is concerned is that we're far too comfortable and willing to air out our dirty laundry. And I think at times it's a little bit off-putting, if we're being honest with you. If I'm the parent, the mom of Omari Hutchinson, and I don't know much about Jamaica, naturally you go searching for information. And let's not kid ourselves, new media is right up there. People turn to YouTube for everything these days. People turn to YouTube to help them know how to braid hair, how to fix a car, how to, I don't know, change engine oil, how to know how to find information on a player, and so on. So with Omari Hutchinson, if I'm his parent and I want to know about Jamaica football, and obviously in England they're not going to be covering that because this is England, not Jamaica, my next option is to go to YouTube. And to be honest with you, some of the things that get said over here, the soap opera, the theoretics, the dragging of our own players, I'll be looking and I'm saying to myself, or I'm saying to my child, if they can drag a Leon Bailey like that, if they can drag this player like that, if they can talk a certain way about their own who already plays for them, you, my son, don't stand a chance. And yes, that's not to say I would say go and play for England, because England, let's be honest, England have problems of their own. It's so funny how our problems is so different, yet one will probably still sway to play for the other. I think our problem, where the 12th man is concerned, where our media is concerned, is that we just chat too much at times. We talk too much. We don't know how to keep things internally. And I can probably blame the Jamaica Football Federation for that. You need to learn how to zip your mouth and stop letting people into your house who are not welcoming visitors. That's one of the things that you guys need to work on as a federation. And as it relates to England, they're not pitch perfect. I wouldn't go as far to say I would convince my child to go and play for England. Definitely not the way England is set up at the moment. If I am the mom of Omari Hutchinson, because England fans I'm not going to compare them to Jamaica football fans, because I think we're two separate set of fan base. England fans, you guys don't need me to tell you, don't need me to remind you, they're as hostile as ever. And yes, some of them are racist. It's quite clear and obvious. Some of them are extremely racist. But I think it says a lot given what we know of the both sets of fan base, what we can see in new media, what we can see in traditional media, what we can see and hear when we're watching the games, when your Bukayo Saka, your Marcus Rashford, and your Sancho, when they step up and they miss penalties and they don't put the ball in the back of the net the way they're treated compared to their white counterparts is very different. So of course, England aren't pitch perfect. They do have problems of their own. But one thing I will always say as it relates to us, as it relates to the federation, and I'm not blaming the federation, because I think without being privy to certain type of information, I think they have touched all the necessary buttons with regards to trying to persuade Omari Hutchinson to play for us. It's just like I said, if his heart isn't in it, then there's nothing that you can do. They can't put a gun to his head and say, show up to us. I think without knowing them, and I'm not defending them, that they've probably done all that they can. But it goes back to what I've been saying about the federation and members of the Jamaica Football Federation. You talk too much for my liking. And you know what? If you act like a clown, you will get treated as one. And that's not me saying I am blaming you for a Omari Hutchinson not solely committing to us. I just think it's time for us to rope in all that negativity, all that backdoor dealings that you guys are doing as it relates to your own player, throwing acid on your own player. I think that all needs to stop, because whether you like it or not, young players do look up to Omari Hutchinson, not to Omari Hutchinson, Leon Bailey. They will be looking up to a Leon Bailey. And to be honest with you, they're probably going to be looking and saying, if you can treat one of your own like that, then who am I? Because to some players who are born in the Jamaica, in the diaspora, that is, they're probably still thinking they need to prove themselves to us, or maybe overly prove themselves to us. But if you can rip apart and throw acid on the likes of your Leon Bailey, then what could you do with a Omari Hutchinson when he puts his foot wrong? Because he will make mistakes. He's young. I believe, like I said, he's only 20 years of age, so he's going to be making a host of mistakes. How will you treat him? Again, me as the parent of his, I would not even try to persuade him to play for England for reasons that I've already alluded to. And I did touch on persuasion, and some of you are a little bit high and mighty in the where the 12 men are concerned, and some of you are probably saying we don't need to. This is the ignorance that I dislike with our football fan bases. A lot of them solely believe that we do not need to persuade a Omari Hutchinson or any player, because we're the nicest things since sliced bread or since sourdough bread, that we don't need to persuade a Omari Hutchinson to play for us. Well, we do, because that is part of football. Persuasion is the master, and with persuasion isn't something that is just you pull it out of thin air. It happens. It is part of football. You see it regularly where club football is concerned. The biggest of stars need to be persuaded to stay with your club. Your Salahs need to be persuaded. Your Saka need to be persuaded. All of these big name players that you can think of playing for their respective clubs will inevitably need to be persuaded by those who represent the club. So be it the coach, be it the director of football, or maybe even sometimes their teammates, or maybe even sometimes the fans may need to say to them, please stay with us, give us 1 more year, give us 2 more years. If we don't win something, then you can go ahead and leave. But I think it's safe to say, again, I'm not blaming the Jamaica Football Federation for any of this, but one thing, the reason why I wanted to touch on persuasion is I've heard it quite a lot of times within our fan base that we don't need to persuade players to play for us. Well, we do, and it does start with our language, and we're all responsible. Traditional media, new media, the 12th man, the Jamaica Football Federation. It's not just the job is not just for the Jamaica Football Federation to persuade players to play for us. Players should be looking into new media, seeing us on YouTube and being like, wow, amazed at how much we love our players, amazed at how much we hold our players in high regard, amazed at how much we tell these stories and speak about our players. And obviously it can be argued, and I'm not going to leave England out of this. I'm going to rope them in because it is Jamaica and England for Omari Hutchinson. It can definitely be argued that the British media has helped or enabled racism where the players are concerned, where black players are concerned. But even then, it just goes to show where a player like Omari Hutchinson would rather be than to be with us, saying that it could be something as simple as he's just not feeling us. And that's okay. If we're not his cup of tea, that's okay. No hard feelings to the young man. It is what it is. We take our L and we move. I will go as far as to say, though, that it's quite clear that he does have some admiration for Jamaica. He's already shown up. I think 2 appearances he's played for Jamaica. I can't remember if it came on the Paul Hall because I think it's been such a long time. I can't remember. You guys might have to tell me in the comment section. But even away from Paul Hall and Jamaica, we've seen him proudly post up pictures of him in Jamaica. We've seen him when he won the promotion there with Ipswich to the Premier League. He had the Jamaica flag wrapped around his waist. So he does have some form of admiration there for Jamaica. But and as things stand, I think it is in terms of England and Jamaica, it's probably parent versus parent, one parent versus the other parent, and Omari is the child. You know, England might be the mom and Jamaica might be the dad. Omari is the child. Yes, he loved his dad, who is Jamaica, but as a boy, he probably loves his mom more, who is England. That's not to say that he doesn't like us, doesn't respect us, don't want to represent us. It's just it is what it is. The heart wants what the heart wants. I will say this as well before I round up on speaking about Omari Hutchinson. I do wish the young man well. If it's not going to be with us and it's going to be with England, best of luck to him. I hope that he does have a flourishing career. I hope that his career grows from strength to strength as a young black man playing in arguably the best league in the world. I hope that he goes on to be a world beater. No idea where life is going to take him, but definitely I do want to wish him the very best of luck in that regard. Let me go ahead and see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Before I move on to the team announcement, Hector getting a club. I think we touched on that. Good day to all of you guys there in the comment section. Big up to all of you. I'm not too bad. I'm into my Saturday morning. Greetings to yourself there, Mr. Porter. Auntie C, should he be? Wow, I'm at that stage. Am I that old? Look, if I had my way, yes, but the young man knows what he wants. I'm sure when he's making these decisions, he has his mom, dad, his loved ones, his representative, his agents helping him to make decisions. You know, even us as adults, fully grown adults, when there comes a time in our lives when we need to make an important decision, and as old as we are, as experienced as we are, we can't make that decision by ourselves. So we turn to our loved ones to help us get over the line. I think with Omari Hutchinson, it's more or less the same. It is, yeah. I saw it go. It is what it is. Wish him the very best of luck. I hope he has a wonderful career. I don't think he wants to come back to Jamaica in this current situation. Yeah, because people just chat too much. Yes, I remember that Chelsea told him to stay out. Potter, Graham Potter. Yes, you are right. It is Graham Potter. I agree. And I think it was a Carabao Cup game. I just think we chat too much when it comes to airing out our dirty laundry. Just hold on to certain things, guys. The world don't need to know that you have skid marks in your drawers. Hold on to that. Go clean yourself up in the bathroom. The world don't need to know that. Jesus, have some decorum, guys. I think he lost interest after his experience after his first game. As I said, if you act like a clown, people will treat you as such. If you act like a joke, people will treat you like a clown, and vice versa. Mr. Porter says, agree. I have no idea what he agrees to because I've said so much. Football pre-TV, big up yourself there, Mr. Liverpool. If you guys aren't familiar with Football pre-TV, do head over to his channel, like, subscribe, and listen to him talk about football. Real talk, I love it. Nia the Queen. I think I have another female subscriber, guys. Oh, yay. That's good. I don't even, yes, she has subscribed because she's coming in, so I think so. I don't think I've ever seen Nia the Queen in the comment section. So big up to yourself. This happens everywhere. England worse, especially as it relates to colorism. Yeah, I think I've been quite balanced with my opinion on England and Jamaica. I don't think I've tried to make one seem better than the other. Apologies if I have, but I think I've tried to be as objective as I can be. And yeah, you're definitely right. You know, it does happen, but I can understand why he would lean towards an England. I'm not mad at him, you know. Media will always have something to talk about. That's what the media does. As a pro, you can choose to block it out and play ball. I think you have to put yourself, sometimes I do agree with you, but I think sometimes you have to put yourself in the player's shoes. You know, you have to look at what's going on and make your own decision. And as I said, sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants. It might not even pay attention to new media, new or traditional media, but it does go with those. It does go without saying that I think we need to tidy up our own house. To be honest, if we tidy up our backyard, to be honest with you, because some of the things that get said on here, as it relates to our own players, isn't pretty at all. His agent tell him not yet, and they see as they know how people talk, mostly a yard. Pick up yourself, Wayne. The report say it might happen in other country. That does not mean we should do the same. Why can't we be different and be respectful to the players? Listen, if I could change that, I would, but I can't. I really can't. I do ask myself that question. Renata says Taloa TV delivers facts, always facts. Big up yourself. Hot Chili Pepper, big up yourself. The doctor is in the house. What did I miss? What did you miss? Let's see if I can remember. Andre Gray is signed for Plymouth Argyle. Paul Pogba's ban. Paul Pogba will be allowed to play football in March, so that 4-year ban there has been shrunk to 18 months, I believe. So as of January, he can train with his club, Juventus. Michael Hector, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, according to Steve McClaren there from the press conference, he has been omitted from the squad announcement because apparently there is a pending transfer where Michael Hector, the current free agent, is concerned. And I'm sure you already know Ravel Morrison signed for Precision FC in UAE, and they play in the 2nd division. Our fan base is very quick to jump down on our players, calling them rubbish and not good instead of encouraging them. Not very loyal to our players, especially diaspora. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. And I'm not saying that there's any truth to what I'm saying, because I am not privy to certain information. I don't know the young man. What I'm saying is probably absolute nonsense, and he probably don't even pay attention to new media or any form of Jamaica media, to be honest. It might just be a case of English born and he wants to play for England. He's a young lion at heart, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even if that's not the reason why he's now, he would rather be with the England U21s. Oh yes, Omari Hutchinson has accepted a call up for England's U21s. I don't think I told you that. But if saying that, the fact that he'd rather go and play with England's U21 than play with us for a World Cup qualifier, I think it speaks volumes, you know. No, it was with Grimmy. Yeah, as an agent, have the best interests. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Both under Grimmy and Paul Hall. So it was Paul Hall and Hal Grimson, where so he was capped one apiece. Okay, thank you for that. I thought it was both under Paul Hall. So thank you. I like when you guys speak in the comment section, because sometimes I can't remember certain stuff, you know. And his agent says, you see, Mr. Porter says Mia the Queen agree. So where are we now? I think I have said all that needs to be said about the young man. I guess now we can, I'm just trying to see if I can bring up the squad announcement. Can I bring up the squad announcement? How do I do that? JFF. I'm gonna go over to, I still call it Twitter. It's called X now. I don't like that name, X. So let's go ahead and look at the squad list, right? I would play the press conference, but to be honest, I'm trying to dodge a copyright violation. And I think the press conference is almost 1 hour long, close to an hour long. So I don't want to bore you guys. So you might have to just watch that one in your own time. For the time being, I'll go ahead and look at the squad list there for the pending fixtures there, where our Nations League is concerned for the month of October. Gonna start things off, as I like to call it, the traditional call out. So I'm going to start things off between the sticks, go to the defense, midfielders, and forwards. Doc, thank you there. Just got your message. Thank you. Appreciate it. So for goalkeepers between the sticks, I don't know if you guys can see this one. Yes, you can. Between the sticks, you have Andre Gray, Shaquan Davis, and Jamali Waite. In defense, you have Dexter Lambakisa, Deshaun Bernard, Greg Lee, Damian Lowe, John Bell, Richard King, Tavon Gray, Ethan Pinnock, and a first call up there, who's been included, I should say, not a first call up inclusion there in our team, Mason Holgate. Yes, you heard that correctly, Mason Holgate. Going to talk about Mason Holgate in a short while. And in midfield, we have Casey Palmer, Roy Anderson, Bobby Reed, Joel Latibode, and Tyreek McGee. In forwards, we have Ronaldo Cephas, Norman Campbell, Michael Antonio, Damari Gray, Kaheem Dixon, and Romario Williams. I will give that another spin if you guys want me to. This one here most certainly excited me as it relates to Mason Holgate. I know I was touched on Mason Holgate with you guys in the past, chatted about Mason Holgate. I think if I'm not mistaken, myself and Doc, I think he's still in the comment section. A friend who's a doctor, I'm very proud to say he's a doctor. I think he's still in the comment section. I'm pretty sure me and him chatted about Mason Holgate a while back. And I think it was the back end of an interview I did with Holgate some 4+ years ago. And that interview I did with Holgate at the time was with the Voice newspaper. Big up the Voice newspaper. They took a gamble on me. They took a chance on me when I was still in uni, just on the brink of graduating, and they turn my dream into reality, where I find myself covering games, Premier League fixtures, FA Cup, you name it. So big up the Voice newspaper. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity that you guys gave to me. I have not forgotten, and I will never forget. So as you can see here, this is an article written by myself. You can see there Crystal Davis, and at the time of the interview with Mason Holgate, I believe this was at the London Stadium. I think it was West Ham versus Everton at the time. And I was eager to speak to Mason Holgate about Jamaica, because why else would I be at the London Stadium? At that time, it wasn't about it was not about Michael Antonio, because I already knew where he stood with regards to Jamaica, but I was eager to know about Mason Holgate. And I think if you go over onto his Wikipedia page, there's a mentioning of this particular report here by written for the Voice newspaper. And this one made headlines nationally. I don't know about internationally where Jamaica is concerned, but nationally it gained a couple of attraction. And I will go ahead and read it. It was a short write-up. I do remember writing it. It was relatively short. So I'll go ahead and talk about Mason Holgate. Before I do that, let's bring up the headline there for Mason Holgate. I'll go ahead and give this one a quick little read for you. Will Mason Holgate become the next reggae boy to have learned his trade in the Premier League? Still belongs to Everton, for those of you who are wondering. He's currently on loan with West Brom. So he's still a Premier League player. And it says the versatile defender has impressed this season and admits that he would consider his options if Jamaica come calling. Again, this article here written by myself was some 4 years ago. To be exact, this one was published the 5th of March, 2020. And I read the main body of the interview there with myself and Mason. It says Everton's rising star, 23-year-old defender Mason Holgate could become the latest high-profile player to don the Jamaica jersey. Holgate has impressed as Everton, under new manager Carlo Ancelotti, have moved up to the Premier League table. When questioned about the possibility of playing for the Reggae Boys, the defender told the Voice of Sport, "It is something I have thought about. It is something," we'll spin that again, guys. "It is something I have not thought too much about. I want to focus on playing for Everton. I feel like these type of things, international football takes care of themselves. I have not heard anything from Jamaica so far, so I have to keep playing and see what happens. Right type of mindsets there. No need to get carried away if they haven't reached out to you. Perhaps you have to prove yourself on the field of play to grab their attention. And this article, to be honest with you, the aim of this article was to actually grab the attention of the Jamaica Football Federation to say, hey, look, we've got Everton's Mason Holgate, a defender, a player playing for one of England's most successful clubs. And he's saying that he would consider playing for you guys. Hint, hint, come and pick him up. And the rest of that article reads as follows. Holgate did state that the thought of playing for Jamaica is one that he would consider. He added, yeah, it is always something to consider. I will have to sit down and look at the options and think about it properly. And to round off that article there, it says Holgate is having the season of his career after being on loan at West Brom Albion in the Championship last season, where he played under manager and ex-Reggae boy Darren Moore. He returned to Everton for the current Premier League campaign, where he has now cemented himself in the starting 11, which has seen him become the subject of plenty of praise. Holgate's breakthrough season has seen him display calmness, maturity, and composure on the ball and raise question marks over his club future, with Manchester City's Pep Guardiola rumored to be keen on signing the versatile player. In a bid to retain Holgate's services, Everton tied him down to a new 5-year contract earlier this week. When asked about the recent transfer rumors, Ancelotti said, I think it is a rumor. If it is not a true rumor, it says, if it is not a rumor, I can say that Mason is an important part of Everton and there is no possibility that he can go. So I'm going to leave that one on the screen right there in front of you. So it just goes to show just how long things can take to materialize. First time when Mason Holgate knowingly admitted that, you know, he would consider playing for Jamaica. That was some 4+ years ago. He might have said these things discreetly, covertly behind closed doors of his loved ones, but in terms of nationally where England is concerned, nothing was said of it until I spoke to him for the Voice newspaper some 4+ years ago. And you guys can see there from the write-up, obviously he has been managed by, I would say, don't shoot me, but I would say the best manager in world football. And if I say that, I am referring to Don Carlo Ancelotti. So he has been managed by the best manager in the world. He's also been managed by our very own Darren Moore. Ronald Koeman as well has managed him. As the article said there, he was at one point in his career rumored to be wanted by Manchester City and Pep. I think, having spoken to him in person, I will say this: for a Premier League footballer, and I have no shame in saying this, for a Premier League footballer, he is extremely friendly, approachable, which I think is a massive plus, because a lot of these Premier League footballers, they're a bit up themselves, you know, they really do think they're the bee's knees. So yeah, credits to him. He is friendly and approachable. I think, you know, still a good player, ever the professional. As I said, you know, 4+ years since he stated that he would be keen to play for Jamaica. It's good to see that slowly these things are coming to fruition. I think, if memory serves me well, as it relates to the press conference from today's presser, I believe he's still waiting on his passport and then FIFA clearance. So I think the idea is that the anticipation, I should say, is that he might not play in those 2 games coming up, but he might play in the latter. So he might not play in the first game, but he might play in the latter. I think it's a moment, it's a time, it's a opportunity for us to just sit and wait and allow fruition to come to the forefront. And I will say this, credits to Mason Holgate, because I think when you have players born in the diaspora, especially where England are concerned, I think the notion is that, oh, when they're of a certain age, because I think Holgate is what, maybe 27 now? I can't remember, but I think when they're of that age, people just believe that, oh, they only want to play for us now because England don't want them. Let's remind ourselves that the young man stated some 4+ years ago, when he was just a spring chicken, that he harbored some sort of feelings and desire of wanting to play for Jamaica. So I don't think this is a case of what we've seen in recent years, where he's only coming to us because we're his backup option. I don't believe that that's the case. I don't believe he's only coming to us because he's quote unquote down on his luck. Come on, Jamaica. I think he's coming to us because, you know, his heart does want to play for Jamaica. And I think the JFF are probably doing something that is part of their succession plan. I feel like, as an outsider looking on, I think they're going to be purposely, and this might sound stupid because you guys are probably thinking, oh, okay, well, duh, obviously, but I think they are now learning from yesteryear, and I think with the men's team, they're going to be approaching players who are coachable. I think that is part of their succession plan. And when I say coachable, I'm talking about players who have the potential to dictate the tempo on the field of play, whilst also being able to take a telling off the field of play. And that's not a telling off, but that's just to do with mature conversation to say, hey, look, you're not good enough. You need to pull your socks up, and not having that player snap back and bite your head off. I think that's the direction that they're going with. I think naturally, when you bring multiply professional players within the setup, that intentionally ushers out or weeds up the unprofessional players. And those unprofessional players, let's not kid ourselves about naming names. We do have unprofessional players in our team. And I think when you're bringing in players like a Mason Holgate, and I'm saying this based off my personal brief interaction with him, that he does come across as a professional. I think when you mix the professional and the unprofessional, it's inevitable the professional will outweigh the unprofessional. The unprofessional will be made to become an island. They'll be made to stand alone, made to be exposed and slowly ushered out through the exit door. So I think that's probably something that the Jamaica Football Federation are tactically working on behind the scenes, or at least I think it's something that I'm hoping that they're working on. Now, in terms of the squad list there, I'm pretty sure you guys picked up on a couple names who won't be available this time round as it relates to the October window. Some of the names there are unavailable due to injury, fitness, form, and also the potential of signing for a club. So a couple of those players, the obvious one being Leon Bailey. I think with Leon Bailey, it's quite obvious what's happened. It's nothing out of the norm. It's not unusual. We have seen players from bigger countries, so like your Belgium and your Kevin De Bruyne, and England and Foden, where they have in the past been pulled from their national team because of that layer of protection that their club wants. And sometimes it's a conversation that gets held between the respective nations and the representative club that might come together and say, okay, this player is carrying a knock, this player isn't at their full potential, this player is only just coming back from injury. It doesn't make sense calling him to international football. And yes, I think it goes without saying that some clubs, not going to name their name, but some clubs I think have been a little bit vindictive. They've been a little bit sneaky in the past in pulling their players. You can clearly see that it's because they're chasing trophies, a title or two, while they would pull a couple player from their national teams. Hey, if it works for you, it works for you. I won't say that that's the case where Leon Bailey is concerned. I know we looked at the Champions League win there with that stunner from John Duran. Bailey came on, I think he came on in somewhat the 26th minute or something like that, and then he was subbed off. I think he was subbed off during the second half. I cannot remember, but basically the big uproar with that was, oh, people were bashing him. I see a couple of people on X bashing him because he was subbed on and then subbed off. It just goes to show how dense some of you are. I actually got it wrong because I said that I thought it was a precautionary. Well, I was right to an extent, but not overly right, because I said it was probably precautionary and pre-planned by Unai Emery, because we've seen in recent games, last string of games, that Leon Bailey has been pulled at the just over the 1 hour mark, and clearly that's Unai Emery trying to protect him because he's only recently come back from injury. We also saw Ollie Watkins pulled off from that game against Bayern Munich, yeah, sounds so weird saying that. Bayern Munich, and subsequently super sub John Duran hit Bayern Munich with a stone cold stunner. So these things that has happened with Aston Villa, Leon Bailey being pulled, being made to sit on the bench, it's not a surprise. I think it's Unai Emery not wanting, as I said on a previous live stream, it's Unai Emery not wanting to rush the player. It's not bloody rocket science. Stop with the think pieces. This is not another excuse for you to go and say that the player isn't committed, because I think if you use the two eyes that God gave you, you would even see with Belgium, Manchester City, and also Kevin De Bruyne. I'll bring up something there for you guys. Let's see if it can work. We've got Kevin De Bruyne. It says Manchester City's De Bruyne is set to miss Belgium matches, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he is the captain for Belgium, right? New piece, because it does say October 4th, 2024. It says Belgium captain Kevin De Bruyne has asked for time off from the national team as Manchester City playmaker looks to manage his playing time. So with Leon Bailey, to be honest with you, it's more of the same. It's not breaking news. It's not here you go, give the dog a bone, go and rip him apart, stop with the nonsense. And you also have something from the September window, a trio of England players there, recognizable faces who have been ruled out, who were ruled out, I should say, from the England squad, that be it Foden, Palmer, and Watkins. And I won't read all of this because it matters not to you guys. Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, and Ollie Watkins have withdrawn from the England squad for their upcoming Nations League fixtures. It does say here Manchester City forward Foden, who was recently named PFA Player of the Year, was called up by interim boss Lee Carsley. Oh, so that's his name, Lee Carsley. Didn't know his name, but did not join up with the squad because of illness. So saying that to say what we're seeing with Leon Bailey, it's nothing for anyone to make a song and dance about. It's nothing for you. It's not an opportunity to create your little think pieces. It's actually quite normal in football if you're willing to pay attention. Of course, no Jamal Lowe as well. Also Michael Hector. Again, I think my understanding, it seems as if it's due to the fact that he's set to sign for a club or an announcement is pending, something of that sort. And as I already reminded you guys, Amari Bell picked up an injury. It was announced some weeks ago that he picked up an injury, and clearly he's still nursing said injury. But I think the biggest one, aside from Leon Bailey and the string of names that I've named out to you guys, is Boza. I will say some flowers firmly at the feet of Shamar Nicholson. He has like a Kevin De Bruyne, he has made himself unavailable, and I would say, credit to the big man, and I want to see more of that. Clearly, paraphrasing there, he doesn't feel like he's at his 100% best, and I want to see more of that, because I think sometimes players need to save themselves from the inevitable, save yourself from the backlash, save yourself from looking out way below subpar, way away outside of the ordinary, and simply say no. It's nothing wrong with saying I am not ready, be whether it's physically or more so mentally. If you're not physically or mentally prepared to play for your national team, for me it's okay to say no on this occasion. Shamar Nicholson has politely said no, and I think it's well within reason, and I fully respect it. And I do want to see more players be honest with themselves, especially where the women's side of things is concerned as well, because I think some of you need to look within yourself and say, you know what, mentally, physically, I'm just not ready. No, thank you. Let someone else have a go. Give that spot to someone else. If you believe that you're him, or if you believe that you're her, you shouldn't be so concerned about letting someone else sit in the driving seat. Because if you believe in your confidence and you think you're him or her, you should know that once you're back fit, up and running, that you're coming to take that spot with both hands. So I do like what I saw from Shamar Nicholson, or what I heard as it relates to Shamar Nicholson. I think I might need to go back over to X and bring up the team announcement again to look at that team announcement for those of you who are just chipping in. Let's go ahead and see if we can click that one for you all. Another name there, I think probably excited a few of you, probably Tavon Gray. I'm sure I saw a cracking goal from him in a recent derby. I think the derby might have been last week. I don't know. Correct me in the comment section, guys. I'm sure he scored a stunner recently for his club. And I think it was potentially last week, but honestly, I can't remember. So he clearly is a player that's been selected based on form. Would appear that he's in a good run of form. As I've already said, Holgate is a matter of getting his passport and also receiving FIFA clearance. McGee is also back in the squad. I know McGee is a fan favorite. One thing that I picked up on with regards to the press conference is that slippery slope that I have touched on. I touched on a slippery slope where the in the last window, in the September window, and it does relates to policy and procedure, and it's quite interesting to hear that some of that, not all of it, was touched on. Paraphrasing as it relates to, for me, my interpretation of what was said by Steve McClaren is that the bar has been set. Now, paraphrasing, I think he said something along the lines of when touching on Jonathan Russell, I think he said Russell hasn't played any minutes with his club, so we need people to be able to do that. And that kind of made me sit up and wonder, and I was just like, okay, then that has to be the level then. And this is where I look and I say, you create a slippery slope when you call up players who are free agents, because somebody might look at you and say, okay, but you called up a player who didn't play for a club at the time, doesn't play for a club. Jonathan Russell, yes, he hasn't been getting minutes in his locker, but he currently plays for a club. So this is why I'm calling and saying that we do need to have a policy written in black and white as it relates to how a player call up is rewarded. Because I think unless that's written in black and white, it's a free for all. You can just do as you please. And I think that could potentially cause corruption. Not to say that Steve McClaren is playing or toying with corruption. Definitely not saying that at all. I just think the lack of policy there, the fact that it does not exist, can create some form of corruption there. I did think it was quite interesting hearing he touched on something again that I thought was again quite interesting, alluding to player call-ups, if he would call players up that plays for this isn't what was said, but basically, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. He basically touched on the fact that he would call players up from like any league, any level, right? So including non-league. I'm sure he mentioned non-league, and that kind of made me smile, because I'm sure I've said this on my live stream already. I said Damian Lowe, for me, to date, his best game came from when he was playing in the Egyptian Premier League. I've not seen him surpass that. I don't know, maybe we read the game differently. But I'm saying that to say the Egyptian Premier League, I'm sure I don't watch it. I don't know if you guys watch it in the Premier League. It's in the Premier League in the comment section, but I don't watch the Egyptian Premier League, right? But that's an example of not turning your nose up at certain leagues just because it's not a league that you deem to be applaudable. In terms of Steve McClaren mentioning non-league, I get why he would mention non-league. I think that is that is a reminder of us needing to understand where we are as a nation, where we are with our player pool, and we can't be ones to stick our noses up at non-league. I know some people stick their noses up at the United Soccer League because they think they're better than that, and it's quite laughable, really. I think with non-league, you don't need me telling you, you've already seen that non-league has birthed some quality players. I think potentially in the last decade, doesn't directly relate to us, but in terms of, let's say, the Premier League, I think the biggest one is potentially Jamie Vardy. I can't think of another that's bigger than that with what he achieved with Leicester. Calvin Phillips, I think, is another one. I believe Solly March is another player. Callum Wilson, and obviously our very own Mikel Antonio. So I wouldn't frown upon non-league players because they have birthed some gems. So I get why Steve McClaren, I think it's because I'm tired of forgetting names. Steve McClaren would touch on non-league. I think people probably hear non-league and they probably have steams coming out their head saying, "Well, you don't need non-league player. We're a big baller, big country." No, you're not. You do need all the players that you can. You need all the bullets for your chamber, my friend. And let's remind ourselves that we are not as big as some of you think we are. We're building, we want to build, but we're nowhere near as big as what some of you guys believe we are. We're not England. We're not privy to certain things. England, as I've said, typically, as long as I've been watching England, back then it was always about the Premier League at the top four. Obviously, now the Premier League is the top six in terms of the growth of the league, growth of clubs, and so on. So they tend to pick their players from the top six within the Premier League. Obviously, now they have to look to the Bundesliga, they have to look to La Liga because they have players playing in said respective leagues, and sometimes they may have to look to Syria as well for obvious reason. We're not England, we're not privy to certain things. I touched on Dominic Solanke earlier, and he's a perfect example of England and their clear selection for players, right? Maybe it's written in black and white. They didn't give a monkey's backside about Dominic Solanke when he was tearing up the Prem, when he was playing out his boots for, I believe his former club was Bournemouth last season. But surprise, surprise, he makes a big move to Tottenham. He's hardly done much with Tottenham, with the greatest of respect to him. Yes, slow process, so this is not me throwing shade at him. Moves to Tottenham, and surprise, surprise, he's now playing for them. He's now being rewarded with an England call-up. And that reminds me, I don't think another player there again in terms of how England does things. No longer plays for Arsenal, and he doesn't get a call up to the senior men's national side, and that is Aaron Ramsdale. Instead, between the sticks, England have gone for Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, and Nick Pope. So clearly, we all know England has a particular policy that they like to toy with, and it was quite pleasing there hearing the gaffer talk about mentality. I do like the word mentality. I've touched it on a few occasions as it relates to Mikel Antonio. Funny enough, I did say that I think with Mikel Antonio, clearly is winding down on his career now. So it's for us to maximize all of his finest attributes. We need to make sure that a player like Mikel Antonio is well conditioned. So I do like what I heard from Steve McClaren, paraphrasing. I think he said something along the lines of helping to take care of players' mental. I don't think he said exactly that, but I believe he did touch on mentality. And what I take from that is maximizing, conditioning the players in a way that it helps to maximize their potential ability and capability. So I thought that was quite good from Steve McClaren with what I heard. And that was a couple of my key takeaways there from the press conference. I don't know what you guys make of what I've said, but I think I've chatted for way too long. I was speaking for 1 hour and 29 minutes. I did say I wanted to wrap this up in 1 hour, but sometimes I talk too much when it comes to speaking with you guys. I can only apologize. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section. The doctor says, I don't mind Omari seemingly choosing England. I don't mind England call him up. It's fine. He's one of the biggest young talents in England, and they will want him and they will want to exactly because they've invested in him. So I do understand that to a great degree. They booed the young man and cussed him out. Yes, we have chatted. I knew I wasn't bugging. It's papers. I knew I wasn't bugging. I knew that me and you chatted about Holgate a couple times. Big up yourself, Gunner's boss. Don Carlo equals boss. I agree with you, Crystal. Don Carlo. Yeah, I think he's the best manager. I don't think there's another manager that's better than Don Carlo. I'm not having it at all, and I think that's what I have to say. I think Steve McClaren also touched on relationships with clubs as well. And yeah, I get it. I do think we need to. I know sometimes you probably want to see a player come and play for us, especially as it relates to players playing in England. But I think we have to learn that these things, at times, it will be a case of unfortunately we have to compromise. And I know sometimes we don't want to do that, but I think in the long run, it should work in our favor. I think we need to put ourselves in a position where we have a good relationship with these clubs, not just the clubs in England, but globally, because you never know as it relates to England, like what my friend Doc says here about Omari Hutchinson. Who knows, in 5 years' time or less, you might get the next Omari Hutchinson. You might get something that's better than him. And by then, because we have a good relationship with a club like Arsenal or a Chelsea or a Leicester City, they might say, actually, go and play for Jamaica because we trust that they will take care of you. It is going to help to elevate your career. You're going to be playing at World Cups anyways. Either way, and you probably at that point, God's willing, you probably can say to the next best thing in England that you have a better chance of winning silverware with Jamaica than England, because when was the last time that the senior men's national team won silverware? So they might be able to turn around and say at that point that, you know what, we trust that Jamaica will take care of you. Go ahead and play for them. And that would be, I think, what you would call a watershed moment if that does happen in our lifetime. The fact that we might see ourselves nab one of England's star boys in years to come. So I do get the idea of needing to have a good relationship with these clubs. I know some of you are probably saying, no, international football, let him come and play for us. I don't think it's as easy as that. Easier said than done. Also, something in relation to the playing surface there where Nicaragua is concerned. Is it AstroTurf, guys? Feel like I heard something about AstroTurf. Yeah, going back to Leon Bailey, there's no way in hell that you guys should even want a Leon Bailey who's just coming back from injury to go and play on AstroTurf. In an ideal world, I wouldn't want any of our players playing on AstroTurfs because sorry to say, but you do put yourself at risk of picking up an injury. For a player who's just coming back from an injury, that could potentially aggravate said injury. That could potentially aggravate it to the point where it puts him in a position where the mending process never truly mends, and it might put him in a position where it halts the growth and the progression of his career. I think we can all agree that, despite personal feelings towards a player like a Leon Bailey, it makes sense for him not to be in the squad this time round, that his health does come first. His football there with Aston Villa puts food on the table. It would seem that as it relates to his immediate family, that he is the main breadwinner and also a breadwinner for his extended family as well. So, he has to do what's best for him. He has to do what makes sense for his career, both club and internationally. As it relates to Leon, a matter of fact, let's see what Aston Villa have said. Think you guys can read this one. Let's go ahead and remove something there. How do I do this? It says team news for the United clash. So they're playing United on Sunday, 2 p.m. UK kickoff. It's at Villa Park. And in bold there, you can read this one for yourself. Better yet, I'll go ahead and read it for you. Jacob Ramsey, Leon Bailey, and Amadou Onana will each be assessed ahead of Aston Villa's Premier League clash against Manchester United. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just touch on what matters to us. It says Ramsey was forced off after 27 minutes on Wednesday's 1-0 win over Bayern Munich in Champions League. The midfielder was replaced by Leon Bailey, who was duly substituted himself on the hour mark at Villa Park. But both they are now doubts. I think it probably should say, but they are now doubts, said Unai Emery at Friday afternoon's pre-match media conference. I don't know if they are going to be available for Sunday. Tomorrow we will train, but they are so tight. If they are available on Sunday, they're not going to be 100% fit. And here's the thing, if Leon Bailey does play against Manchester United, even if it is for 10 or 15 minutes, of course the headline's going to be if he can play for if he can play against Manchester United, if he can play for Villa, then he can come and play for us. Like, use your common sense and realize that he's still being adequately managed by his club, by Aston Villa, by Unai Emery. Also remind yourself that the playing surface against Nicaragua isn't exactly up to par. If I'm not mistaken, I think I caught wind that it is AstroTurf. Do you really want him playing on AstroTurf after coming back from a injury that's still clearly ripe? He's probably being rushed by Aston Villa by the sounds of it. So even if he does play against Manchester United, I wouldn't go as far as to say, oh, there's questions of commitment, because I know what some of you guys in terms of the 12th man are like. So let's try to brush aside some old habits. I think that is potentially me. Don, he said it about Jamal Lowe for sure. Didn't hear the Russell. Yeah, I'm sure he touched on Jonathan Russell. I might need to go back and listen to that. But it's good to know that it was definitely said. He said something about Jamal Lowe as well, which you've just touched on. Uncle Steve was asked specifically about Ravel playing in the UAE third league. He batted that question away with 5-4. Oh God. You know, he's a seasoned veteran, isn't he? He's a seasoned veteran, Steve McClaren. I think that is me done, guys. Unless you guys have any questions there for me. I've been speaking with you guys for 1 hour and 37 minutes. You guys have any questions? Do fire away. I'll spare some additional minutes. Oh, wow. Thirsty. So yeah, I think I am done. I think I'll give myself 3 more minutes potentially with you guys. See how we get on there in the comment section. And I am not expecting to give you guys a live stream tomorrow. I am expecting to come back on Sunday, however. Again, if you are out and about, I do hope that you make it home safe and unharmed. You guys have been rocking with me for almost 1 hour and 40 minutes. Thank you guys for your continuous support. It does not go unnoticed. Thank you guys for helping me with the growth of my channel. Long may it continue. If you're new to the platform, I do hope you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, what are you waiting on? If you've enjoyed tonight's live stream, even if it was just 1 second of enjoyment, go ahead and kindly hit the like button. I reckon I deserve it. I mean, it is almost 2 a.m. here in London and I'm still rocking with you guys. I think I've got another, let's call it just under 2 more minutes with you all. Once this one hits 1 hour and 40 minutes, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. But saying that, even though I've said I'm not expecting to come back tomorrow, if anything pops up and it is information that requires myself sharing it with you all or having a chat with you all, then obviously I will pop up and give you guys the necessary information, okay? So it doesn't look like you guys have any questions for me, so I'm probably going to have to just let this one roll off into the 1 hour and 40 minutes. Thank you guys so much for your support. It does not go unnoticed. I do appreciate it each and every time. And yes, if you are out and about, I do hope that you make it home safe and unharmed. I've said that a number of times because walking through your doors is an underrated blessing. If I don't see you on Sunday, no worries. Between now and then, I hope that you have a smashing weekend. Put your feet up. You deserve it. Let your hair down. You deserve it. If I don't see you on Sunday, I hope that you have a great new week. Knock that one out the park. Hit them with a stunner like John Duran. Thank you guys for your support. And you know how it goes. Until next time, take care.
I'm John Barnes, and you're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.